A few years ago, I wanted to have the freedom to make my own schedule and do what I wanted when I wanted to. And I achieved that. I learned so much in the process. And in this video, I am going to share with you how you can create a master schedule that turns your ideas into a reality. This is for you, whether you're a full-time entrepreneur or you are working at a job, you have kids at home, and you're trying to make your business work. Click the subscribe button to subscribe to this channel to get more videos like this. All right, so let's go back to the idea of doing what you want when you want. This is such a catchphrase in the online industry. But what no one tells you is that having to do the freedom to do what you want when you want can be both freeing, completely disorienting, and very confusing if you're not very clear about what it is that you're supposed to be working on in your business. And so you add working from home into the mix of that, and you don't even have the environmental cues of time passing. So for me, when this first happened in my business, it started mashing up my days together, and I found myself procrastinating even more on my business, even though I had so much more time to work on my business. And since my reality wasn't just mine alone, but then I had kids that I was taking care of, it became this constant reactive mode where I was like, oh my God, I need to do the dishes. Oh my God, the kid's yelling over here. Oh my gosh, laundry has to be done now. Oh my gosh, I can't walk through this room. I have to vacuum. like, all of the things that were coming at me were very, very reactionary. And I realized, now, this didn't go on for a super long period of time because I can start to sense this really, really quickly when I'm falling into reactive mode. But the point is that when that happens, I notice right away that there is an issue, there is a dissonance for me personally between me going after my goals and achieving what I want and me actually making that a reality. So I may have 1,000 ideas because I'm still an entrepreneur no matter what at the end of the day. And the problem is that if I'm in reactionary mode, I'm not actually making any of those happen and come to life. And that dissonance causes so much discomfort for me and so much unease that it really affects how I show up in my life. And it's not the way that I want to live. Also, the reactionary mode really leads to mediocrity, which is something that I really push myself to move away from as an entrepreneur and as a high achiever. And so even though I had my entrepreneurial dream, which was to do what I want when I wanted to, I really started to value more and more and more and more structures, systems, schedules. Okay. And this was like well into my entrepreneurial career. So I also noticed that it wasn't just me that thrived on those things. My children were also thriving on more structure, more routine, and more scheduling. And so there was something really safe and secure for them, that they felt this comfort in knowing that, dinner is at 5 o'clock, and after this snack at whatever time they can do screen time for 1 hour. Like, that really created so much comfort and ease for them. And I thought, well, I don't think that's just me. It's also us humans and how we're wired, especially when I noticed my children reacting that way. And so the less structure and the less routines that I personally have, the more my stress level goes up, because I tend to do a lot more procrastination. I'm not actively moving, towards the direction of my goals. And in addition, every day that passes, or every minute, an hour that passes, I'm moving farther and farther away from living a joyful and intentional life, which is my ultimate goal. Okay. So when we resist structure and routine, which we tend to do as entrepreneurs, like, this is why I even fell into this in the first place, right? Some part of me still resists the structure and the routine to this day, okay? Even though I have that part of me, I lose out on all of the benefits of the structures and the routines whenever I am focused more on trying to get the freedom ahead of time than when I am focused on let's be disciplined. Here are the routines, here are the structures, and here's the freedom you're going to create for yourself and the ultimate long lasting happiness and the long lasting, right? Like thing that you are creating that you so wanted by being disciplined. Okay. So now, let me just say, because that word discipline can be like really negative connotations around it. Okay. I am not saying to grit and bear and, sacrifice everything so that you can get this outside thing and that'll make you happy. That's not what I'm saying. What I am saying is when we have some structure and some routine, we can create our future on purpose. And that is something worth doing. Okay. So, how can we create a daily schedule that fits into our creative entrepreneurial brains, gives us freedom, and at the same time makes our ideas a reality? Okay, there is one thing that I have found that has helped me the most. And it is a tall order for me to say, it is a big promise for me to give you on this video. And it is the master schedule. In this video, I'm going to lay out what exactly is a master schedule and how you can start to create one today so that you can make your ideas a reality. So what is a master schedule? A master schedule is the process of making your ideas a reality by using your calendar. Okay, very simple. You take the time you have and you make your ideas come to life using your time. Okay. So here's how I like to approach it. Step one, we are going to decide what are our actual goals. Okay. Some people like to do long-term goals like 5 to 10 years. Other people like to do shorter term goals like quarterly goals. It really doesn't matter the time frame. Okay, I think too many people get caught up in, I need a 10-year goal and I need a quarterly goal. Yes, you need all that. But if you're going to just overthink about what it might look like on a quarterly basis, pick something that's better than what you have going on right now in the direction of where you're trying to go. And that can be your goal. And guess what? No matter whether it takes you 5 years, 1 quarter, 2 quarters, 3 quarters, you're going to keep going until you reach that goal anyways. So don't get so caught up in the time. Okay. Step 2, decide on what projects would help you to attain that goal. Okay. Again, this is where if you're an overthinker like me, you may be trying to overthink the perfect project and choose the perfect, most ideal project to choose to get you closest to that goal. Here's the thing. Picking a project is going to move you closer to your goal. Even if you pick the wrong project, even if you pick the project that is actually 3 steps ahead instead of the next step, you are going to figure that out as you're trying to do it and you can't get anything done. Okay. So the goal is for you to pick a project within the realm of where you're trying to go and fail by doing and learn by doing and fail on purpose. And don't be afraid of that quote unquote failure, right? Because if you pick the wrong project and you find out, well, actually I need 20 other things that aren't even on this project first, that's you failing to do the project and learning from that. And there is no bad thing happening. It is you learning, which means you're moving towards that goal. And that's what you want to give yourself credit for. That's what you want to be happy about and excited about and drive towards. Okay. Now, let's talk about what is a project before I get too far ahead of myself. A project is anything that is going to have 2 or more tasks associated with it. So a task is something that you can do in 5 to 10 minutes. Okay. So a project can literally be 20 minutes, right? Because maybe 30, because it would have to be more than 2 things, right? So it could be a 30-minute thing. It can be a 3-month thing. Okay. Again, the reason this matters is because many times I see people putting projects on their task list and wondering why they procrastinate. Because you're trying to get 20 things done in 5 minutes, and your brain can't do that. Okay. It's not just your brain, brains of humans can't do that. Okay. So, um, a project is any conglomerate of tasks that is going to be require more than two. Okay. And a task is anything that needs to get done that will take from 5 to 10 minutes, 15 tops. If your projects are constantly, or if your tasks are constantly taking you to the 15-minute mark, they really probably should be broken down even more. And the reason for that is so that you can make more momentum on those tasks. And if you can't do something because you're waiting for something to happen first, like if you need to fix a toilet, okay? And I'm just using this like ridiculous example, but if you need to fix a toilet, okay, and you put that down as your task to get done today, okay, and you know you can do it in 10 to 15 minutes, maybe you're a plumber, okay, that would be fine and dandy. The issue is that most likely, if you haven't, planned ahead of time or like thought through the whole thing, you might be like going to go do the thing and you're like, oh my gosh, I don't have the part. I don't have the part to be able to go fix the toilet. So then that 15-minute thing turns into an hour because you have to go to the store, you have to find the part, and then you realize blah, 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 that you need the part size and all this other details, right? And that's what happens to us as entrepreneurs. When we go to try to do the task, we're like, oh my gosh, this is actually, I forgot 3 steps to this task and now I'm behind and now the thing is taking me 3 times as long. And there's nothing wrong with that process. I do want you to train your brain to look for tasks and projects. That way, you are building in all those 15-minute tasks into the project, and then you know ahead of time what order things would go into. Now, you're not going to get this perfect every time, and you're still going to realize, oh my God, I need to go to the store because I forgot the part. And that kind of thing will still happen. However, when you train your brain, it's going to be easier and easier for you to pick up on the difference between a task and a project, and you're going to be able to do them more effectively and then delegate them more effectively. Okay. So constrain yourself. Like, here's some tips on projects. Constrain yourself to a limited number of projects that you're going to take on at a time, and look at and consider all areas of your life, not just your business. So I like to look at 3 buckets for my projects. I like to look at home, business, and me, because I tend to neglect myself on my projects list. So I can be doing a ton of home projects, a ton of business projects, and totally like not make a goal for my own personal self. And I know that I need to be doing that. And so I like to put it into those 3 buckets. And that forces me to take care of better care of myself, to prioritize myself, and to move my own personal growth forward in many different areas. Now, also, using these 3 broad categories, I can say, you know what, I'm only going to take 2 projects on for each of these categories, which means that if I have something big coming up in my me section, or in the home section, like for example, a couple months ago, we moved. Okay, that was a huge home project. And so for me to also throw in there like a huge business project that same month, it was going to really put a wrench on my quality of life and my intentional and joyful living, which, like we talked about, is the ultimate goal that I strive for in my life. And so having those 3 big buckets allows me to make rules for myself to say, I'm only going to pick 2 and for each of these categories, and that can keep my overwhelm way down. And it also keeps me intentional about what I'm picking and putting on there, so that I'm not really heavy loading in all three areas that are important to me. Now, although I wish it could be as simple as saying every 2 weeks you change your project, that would be fantastic. The reality is, like we talked about, projects can be as short as, 30 minutes or an hour. They could be as long as 3 months. And so I like to just make it a habit that every time I have an idea, because I know my entrepreneurial brain will give me lots of those, I put them into my upcoming projects list or idea list. There are all the ideas of all the things I want to do. I want to write a children's book. I want to go on this such vacation. I want to create this new habit to blah, 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 right? Like whatever the thing is, I put it into my upcoming projects list. And that allows me to sift and sort through that and reassess on purpose. And again, intentionally choose what I'm going to pick and focus on for this period. And then I can say, okay, what's more important to me? This project or this project? What makes the most sense for me right now? This project or this project? And really choosing those values, like based on my values, based on what I have going on and what I want to be focused on. This also, the method of jotting down your ideas in one central place and then picking when you're going to execute on it really helps with shiny object. If you struggle a lot with starting projects and never finishing them, with moving on to the next shiny object all the time, this system helps you so much with preventing shiny object syndrome by helping you to choose intentionally what you will focus on. Step 3 is focus on the process. I like to ask myself, what routines will help me to complete this project or reach the goal? Okay, it's much easier for me to build a regular routine around something than it is for me to try to do a big push towards something every once in a while. So an example that I have from this is I was struggling with mail clutter. A lot of mail was coming in, like when your kids come back from school, there's like 20 pages like a day that come from the teachers, their assignments, their little drawings, their all this. And then you have mail coming in and you have, the coupons that came and all of those stuff. So I was really struggling with the mail clutter. And what I started finding was that it was much easier for me to handle the paper clutter as soon as it came in the door, before I even set it down on the counter, than it was for me to sit down once a month and sort through piles and piles and piles of paper. And so I decided to make it a habit that as paper is coming in, I'm going to sort it and deal with it right away instead of waiting for this one big push. And that made the process much more enjoyable and much more manageable for me on a daily basis. I don't even have to schedule. Like I literally had a scheduling time block that was like sort through paper mail. Well, I didn't need to do that anymore because I just put it into my daily routine and it was taking less than 2 minutes every day instead. Okay, so what I like to do is really focus on the routine, and that is so important because if it's less than, 2 minutes, you can just do it right then. And building that habit makes it much easier to integrate than it is to try to do some other big thing. Now, if your routine is going to take more than 15 minutes, by all means, go ahead and put in a time block for yourself to do it. If it's going to take less than 15 minutes, then try to do habit stacking. This is one of my favorite ways that we teach our clients to add new habits into their life. Basically, they take an existing habit, whether that's drinking coffee or having dinner or unloading the dishwasher, whatever your existing habits are, and you just stack this one on top of that one. So every time you drink your first cup of coffee, you are going to journal, for example. That's one that we teach inside of our Mindset Mastery course. And so that habit stack allows you to always do the thing, and it makes it so much easier than trying to force yourself to do journaling at different random times throughout the day. Okay. I also like the first week or two that I'm integrating a new habit or a new routine, I actually put it in as a project. This is a bonus tip because when you're trying to focus on adding that new routine, nothing will sway you from that more than other things that you have to do. And so if you're trying to get yourself to do a habit, that in it of itself, getting yourself to make that a habit is a project. And that is a project worth doing because then it's going to make sustaining that super easy. And then you can work on the next project. Also, I always put it into a time block if it's going to take more than 15 minutes on its own. But then later you can edit it later on. And we're going to talk about time blocking in the next phase. But you can edit it later to be included in something like a morning routine.